You're listening to Scheduling Sin with me, Snowmill.
I specifically remember at one point the phone is laying on the bed and I am down between your legs and we hear bling and I pop my head up like a gopher coming out of a hole.
Well, hi there, Mr. Snow.
Hey there, how are you?
I am good. We are good. We're a little
look tired.
What? I look tired? Well, you look pretty spent yourself there. We are purposely recording this in a very post threesome sex glow.
Mm-hmm.
We were home alone and, we're starting to kind of talk and mess around, and I got pretty revved up, and I said, maybe we should just check out one of those hookup apps and see what we come up with, because this is a perfect example of, when you're thinking with your horny. Was that what we said?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had just finished recording another episode.
Yeah.
And you were pretty revved up.
Right. And we just kind of started kissing, and I got pretty horny. What do you want from me? And so these are those decisions that you make when your pants are off.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So we had been talking about using one of these apps.
Yeah.
For a while.
Just a straight hookup app. Not
just
like
a hookup app. Like we hadn't done it yet.
Right.
But we had talked about it.
No time like the present.
No time like the present. And so I had talked on there to a few people.
Yeah.
As one does. And there were a few people that I had been chatting with, single males. And we started kind of fooling around. And she said to me, I wonder if we could find a guy like right now.
Because it's like literally the middle of a day on a Monday. Like it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess I should say, before we go any further, this is going to be a uniquely explicit
Yeah, it might be a little graphic.
So just a heads up.
Sorry,
anybody who might listen to us in any sort of polite company might want to get where they don't have to make eye contact.
Do you think people listen to our podcast in polite company?
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Library study groups.
Right, because I'm sure it's a good thing to have on in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was not an episode for that. So she asked me that, and I'm not one to shy back from a challenge. And so I said, I bet we could. And so we jumped on, and I messaged two single males that I had been talking to before. Really not with high hopes.
But talking in this context is very different than talking, I think, in other contexts.
Well, we weren't talking about knitting.
Well, no, I wasn't saying you were talking about knitting, but I'm saying I think sometimes depending on the app in which you engage in, there are certain things that you are looking for versus others, right? This is a strictly hookup app.
Yeah. And both of these guys that I had been talking to were bi guys.
Mm.
And that's something that we really haven't explicitly said on the show before.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I am sexually bi.
Right.
I am not romantically bi. I don't have any interest in dating a male or like kissing men or things like that. I'm not looking for that, but I am open bisexually, just in a sexual stance.
Right.
And we had never played with that together.
No.
I've had male experiences in the past, but she has never been a part of it.
Right. And it's been, and again, we talk about evolution. We've talked a lot about it. And there was always kind of a part of me that was kind of like, I was okay with it. I was accepting it. I didn't have any problems with it really, but I didn't know if I really wanted to be involved with it. Like it didn't really think that I would want to do that. But there was I remember this very vividly. There was one specific time where I think we were like probably having sex, I'm sure, or we were talking about it. And you started describing in very vivid detail some of the experiences that you've had in your past. And I feel like I channeled like kind of how you felt when I would talk about me and my past experiences. Like I got so horny when you were talking about you and this other guy kind of going at it. And I was like, it surprised me, but I think it's just the whole concept of you being sexual with somebody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really, your first thought is, I don't want to think about my husband with another man, but it wasn't, the gender piece didn't really even enter my mind. It was really just about you being very sexual and you desiring that and someone like servicing and pleasing you.
Yeah.
That's the part of it. And I got so worked up. I'm pretty sure I probably did not even let you finish the story and I was on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Again, like we had talked about that side of, for me,
right,
over the years, kind of off and on. And it was like, we had kind of talked about it. We were kind of aware of it, but it wasn't anything that we had decided to do anything with.
Well, and I think you were pretty initially, even as close as we are, I think you were initially, when we first talked about it forever ago, I think you were a little nervous to talk about it.
I was. I mean, and for all the reasons I think that a lot of people are about this, I don't like the term coming out for this.
Yeah.
Because, and here's why I don't, because for me, it is something I like. It's something I enjoy. It's not my romantic identity in the same way that it is for some other people.
Sure.
So I don't want to minimize the concept of coming out, how important that is for folks who are in that position.
Right.
Compared to what this is.
Right. This seems to just be incredibly sexual.
It is. It's only very, sexual.
It
is. So I don't like the term coming out, but I will say that like, this is the first time publicly that I've really kind of shared this about myself.
Yeah.
And I will say that I'm kind of self-conscious about it in that, how even as accepting as the lifestyle is, the reality is that women are almost expected to be bisexual.
Right.
Bisexual men, though, is kind of, I still think it's kind of a taboo thing.
Yeah.
Even as accepting as the lifestyle is.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, particularly men out there who are like, ooh, he's bi. Well, he might want to look at my penis. And then that makes
I don't think it's what they're saying, that he wants to look at my cock.
Well, maybe.
I mean, I feel like
maybe a little more than that. But like,
you guys are more than willing to show your cock to pretty much anybody who will look at it.
I think that, and I'm not knocking anybody. It's just everybody's what they're into. But like, I think there are a lot of men who are perfectly content having sexual experiences with other men around.
Right.
But there's very much like this don't cross the streams concept.
Well, there's a stigma.
There is.
There's a stigma. And it is interesting how open sexually people can be, but yet in some ways they're
still very closed
off. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think, and I think, that could speak to, I mean, we could go into a lot of depth here, but like, I think that speaks to men's sexuality more than women's sexuality, because I am not bisexual. Like I don't identify that way. I have no desire to date a woman, to really even engage in most sexual acts with women. However, I am not like turned off by women that are bisexual. I mean, I will rub on a woman. I will definitely maybe feel a woman. Like, I will appreciate her body.
Sure. They don't make you uncomfortable.
No, not at all. It's just not something that I want to do.
Right.
And I could potentially like kiss a woman? Absolutely. But it's not something.
I hope so. I want to see that so bad.
But it's not something that I would seek out. But I think men, and this is a stereotype, but I think sometimes they're a little bit more sheepish about that part of like men's sexuality. Like I'm straight. I like pussy. That's what I like.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's fine. But you're also watching your wife have sex with another man.
Yeah, but I'm not watching that part.
Like, it's like, okay, like whatever. But it's just interesting. I think sometimes but I think again, that speaks more to men's sexuality and men's sexual development more than women's.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely. And
yeah.
And where the culture's at.
I think there's definitely a cultural
with everything.
piece.
I mean,
absolutely.
The women being bisexual. Everybody loves bisexual. I love bisexual women.
Well, I mean,
everybody loves bisexual
but
women.
it's almost like you said. It's almost like this expected.
No
one thinks twice about a woman and a woman making out. But I think sometimes when they see two men going at it, it's just a very different thing.
It's like, oh boy. I will say this. This is kind of a neat thing. In the Telegram group for the hotel takeover we did, there was a kind of a splinter group or a split off group for couples with bisexual males.
Yeah.
And that group's gotten quite a few people in it.
Yeah.
And it's very active.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of fun. Yeah. So we had this sort of last minute idea.
Very last minute.
And we reached out to these two men. One of them responded, "I'm at work." Totally understandable response.
It's the middle of the workday. Yep. That seems legit.
Fully expected to get the same response from the other guy.
Yeah.
But the other guy instead responded with, he was like one town over.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes.
And he's like, well, when can you play and the times and so forth? And we're like, oh, well, maybe this will happen.
Yeah.
And we started talking a little more and he's like, yeah, okay. All right. I think basically, he dropped literally everything and came to town. Like we were laughing about this because from the time he's like, we kind of settled and said, okay. It was like, it felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah. He was like here in a jiffy.
He was doing like 110 miles an hour.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things I think he kind of felt this initially as well. You're kind of having the conversation and then when it starts to get like real, like here's our address, when can you be here? That kind of stuff. Like, it's like, oh fuck, like this is gonna happen. This is real. And I think then the nerves, and he even shared like, I'm really nervous about like doing this.
I really appreciated him saying that too.
Yeah. And I guess he had then shared when he got here after we had kind of done our thing, like he kind of shared a little bit, like, I guess he had some experiences where he had been kind of set up or scammed or potentially like, yeah.
Right. Well, and we were talking about like, we had started playing just the two of us.
Right.
When we kind of had this sort of grand idea and we're kind of messaging and like, we could put the phone down and we like kept kind of going back to what we were doing.
Right.
And bling. Oh, what was that?
I know, it was exciting. It was exciting that you and I were kind of messing around and then we would stop to go check this message.
And I specifically remember, this is where the explicit part starts to happen. I specifically remember at one point, the phone is laying on the bed and I am down between your legs and we hear bling and I pop my head up like a gopher coming out of a hole.
That image is in my head. You popping your head up. That's hilarious.
So
and
anyway,
you were quite messy.
Yeah. So we kind of like, and it was at that point where we're kind of like, okay, well, I guess this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And leading up to it, and the few minutes leading up to her, like, are we doing this? Like, are we really going to do this? And
all of the like, first of all, like, this is the other thing. And again, you make decisions with your pants on, right? And these are decisions that we were making very much with our pants off.
Yeah.
But like, we just met this guy.
Right.
He's going to be here in 40 minutes.
Right.
He's coming to our home.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like, like what? Like when you stop and you say that out loud, you're like,
you're insane.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, no, I know. and here's the thing I'm going to say about this. So 2 things. I had talked to this person before today.
Yeah.
It's not like, we were best buddies, but I had a chance to talk to this person.
Yeah.
And I personally feel that I've got pretty good spidey sense for people.
Well,
in
and
this
I think,
world.
Yeah.
It feels like an excuse and it kind of is, but that's where we were at. And I will say this, dear listener, this is not recommended.
Right. Do not try this at home.
It worked out really good for us. But this is a risky thing to do.
It is a risky thing to do.
It's a risky thing to do. It is.
And I think, I mean, it did work out well and he was very nice and he was very respectful and I mean, all the things, but I think, I think about if he had shown up and for whatever reason, it just was not vibing, that would have been hard to kind of like navigate. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and
you know where we live now, and you're in our home, and it gets a little more sticky.
Well, and you have to be really willing to have an awkward conversation.
Absolutely.
Right? Because this, especially in a case like this, where a person is coming to your house. So we had talked before, and we had said, we had kind of expressed bothly what we were interested in and what we might be wanting to do. We had had this conversation before. And then today I messaged him and I was like, hey,
yo, bro,
yeah, bro, last minute, but are you able to come over today? Like now?
Like shit is about to go down.
Yeah. Shit's about to go down. And it's actually kind of started already. So we had to we're like, yeah, okay, this is happening. And we kind of had to stop.
Right.
And
conscientiously stop.
Yeah. Conscientiously stop.
Because the reality is I was totally expecting it to be a total no-go and we were just going to go at it. Like,
yeah. Which would have been fine.
Yeah.
But we're like, we need to hop in the shower and
right. Like, oh gosh, now I have to make sure
you're like, I want to dry my hair.
Yeah, I want to I didn't want to look like a complete, I had been around the house all day. Like, come on.
So
I wanted to shower and make sure the bathroom was somewhat clean. Just in case he needed to go to the bathroom or, in the guest room, I want to make sure our kids didn't leave shit in there.
Well, we're going to full hosty mode, right?
Right. Let's be hospitable.
Right. This guy and I had talked previously, and what we had said was that I am a top.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, I like the idea of bottoming. That's an entire complicated thing. It's never worked out well for me. And it's just not something I really am looking for right now. I'm open to topping, but honestly, oral's kind of where I'm at. That's good for me.
Giving, receiving.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's perfectly fine. It's pretty non-threatening. It's perfectly fine. He was pretty into the idea of receiving, bottoming while he was in you.
Yeah. Which
sounded fun. But it also sounds like it would be tricky to actually
logistically do. This is the thing about fantasy and reality. This is why the porn industry is so because they make the impossible happen.
Yeah, they do.
But you've got people are doing crazy
yeah. Does it actually feel good? No,
but it looks good.
It's like fucking porn yoga.
Porn yoga. Okay, I feel like there's a business to be had there. But all right.
So anyway.
So we're going to do some porn yoga.
Okay. So that's kind of where we left it. I knew what he was into. He knew what I was into. We had shared some pictures.
It's so funny. We talk about sharing pictures.
Yeah.
And this is on me as well, and I'll own it, but you tend to be the leader in all of the chats. Right? You're the one who vets the people. You're the one who you're the screener.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my job.
And sometimes I forget when we go meet up with these males at random places that these men that obviously if you've gotten to this stage of the game, right, and we're going out for drinks or dinner or whatever, you've already seen a lot of me.
Yeah. Okay.
No. You have seen a lot of me. Very graphic, not just pretty pictures of my titties. You've seen some stuff.
Yes. But to be fair,
mm-hmm.
That is with your consent.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you don't do it without it. But sometimes I kind of forget that, right? Because a lot of times by the time I'm being introduced to this, you've already had a lot of conversations with this person and you've already shared pictures and you've already decided, okay, we're going to try this, right? And sometimes I forget that. And then I'm sitting at dinner and I'm thinking... And I try to be flirty or something. And then I'm like, oh, wait, you've already seen all of it.
Well, but there's a difference seeing it in pictures and seeing it in person.
Nevertheless.
So anyway. Okay. So.
You just mad because you got called out a little.
A little. So this guy comes over. Meets at the door.
Yes.
Mrs. Snow is wearing this sort of black, what is it, coverall kind of thing.
Coverall? No, it's
like a nightie.
It's like a little nightie. Okay. That's very deep V.
Oh yeah,
very deep V.
Girls are out.
Girls are out because
and these lacy black
panties.
Yeah,
but they're under. You can't see them.
I know. So this guy knocks on the door, and there's this moment, and that's this. We've experienced this now a couple of times. There's this sort of like moment when the person who you're about to play with knocks on the door, and it's like, oh shit,
this is about to go down.
This is happening now. This person is about to walk through the door, and we may very well fuck them.
Right.
And so we open the door. He comes in. Nice guy.
Nice guy. He did seem nervous.
He seemed very nervous. And one thing we talked about
before he even got here.
Yeah, before he got here, he was on his way over. This I kind of started thinking in this way after talking to Gavin.
Yeah.
And he said, I have to tell you, I'm really nervous. And for one thing, I was appreciative that he said that.
Right.
For two reasons. For one thing, it's always nice to know where a person's at.
Well, it humanizes people.
Right. And it humanizes people. It's like, oh, this guy, he's a real person. He's not just going to confidently come in here and,
Well, but it also makes you realize that I don't think he's looking for anything dangerous. I mean, it really kind of, it evens the playing field a little bit.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, because people that are trying to be like not good, right, are not going to be.
Or faking that.
Right.
Or faking that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, he says he's really nervous. What I said to him, I said, hey, look, here's what's going to happen. Right. Very explicitly. I told him very upfront, here's what's going to happen. You're going to come through the door. We're all going to go right upstairs to our guest bedroom.
Our porn studio.
Snow Mill Studios.
Yeah.
And we're going to, with our clothes on.
We're going to just talk.
We're going to talk. And we're going to talk about what we're into. We're going to talk about boundaries and what we like. And we're going to go from there. And then if at any point from that point through any other time, if you get uncomfortable or you aren't liking what's going on, say so. And if you need to leave.
Yeah. No harm, no foul.
You're totally fine. But look, we're going to make this just as easy as we can.
Right.
It's a nice house in a nice neighborhood. We're not sketchy,
Right.
It's going to be fine. And so I think that helped.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over, and that's exactly what we did. So we went straight upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
He followed Mrs. Snow up the stairs in her lacy little panties. And we went right into the guest bedroom, and we just started to talk. About what we were into.
Right.
And what our experiences were like.
He told us his name first.
He did. He told us his name.
That sounds so fucking sketchy.
It sounds really
so
fucking
scandalous.
Sketchy. It does.
He's like, by the way, you're going to come over to my house with the thought and plan to fuck me, and you're going to introduce yourself when you walk in the door. Like, there's something so scandalous and kind of hot about that.
It's naughty, isn't it?
Very naughty.
It's very naughty. And so out of ordinary for us.
I know.
Like, we've never done this before.
And I think, you have that moment before he got here. Literally we're standing kind of milling around, like literally waiting for the knock at the door.
Right.
And there's this thought of, oh my God, what have we just done?
Right.
Like, this could go terribly wrong.
It could.
And it's like they're coming into our home. Like, we have pictures of our kids on the wall. Like, it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? So it really was, again, this is not something that I don't know if we will do often or again.
Oh, I don't think we're going to do it often. This is sort of a sort of a unicorn event for us.
Yes.
This is not anything we're going to start doing on the regular.
Yeah, no.
Maybe with him, but
well, there's that.
So what happened after we kind of talked a little bit about our boundaries?
Right. And he said that he would be, and I think this is a really good way to start, especially because, we don't know each other really well, right? Although we're all here for the same reason. He kind of said, I wouldn't mind just kind of watching the two of you kind of go at it. And so I think that was really kind of a good place to start.
That was a really good place to start. It was a good idea on his part, and it was fun for me because I love that.
So I think it was, because then he can really kind of gauge, I think you can kind of tell a lot about when you see two people. I mean, you
just find your place.
You can kind of find your place, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of started with that, and Mr. Snow and his He wore his shinesties.
Yeah.
He wore his little cloud. Like, and I think he did that. We pointed them out before we kind of got started. And again, they're such a good conversation starter.
They are.
Like, this is
They are. You make fun of my little cloud
100%.
orgy shinesties. I don't care. They're an excellent conversation starter.
Right. So there you go. There's your free time advice. Like, make sure you have a conversation starter when you have a rando come over to fuck you. Tips from the snows.
This will be on the website.
Yeah. Under FAQs.
Yeah. Do's and don'ts.
Right. And so anyway, we're kind of talking and laughing and everything's good. And we're getting really good vibes from him. And he was very open with us about like kind of what he was into and what he wanted. And so we were like, okay, this is go time. And so, Mr. Snow got up and took off his clothes, and I was continuing to wear my little black lacy thing. And he got up and he took off all his clothes. And there I was with two naked men laying on the bed with very hard cocks. And there's nothing hotter. There's a lot of hot things, but I tell you what, talk about feeding my ego. Like, you have two very naked, very horny men, and they just want you. And it's pretty empowering, and it's a pretty hot thing. And so I decided to start with going down on Mr. Snow. And as always, I enjoy that, and it's super fun. And I'm watching, because they're both laying kind of next to each other on the bed. And I'm kind of going at it with Mr. Snow, and I'm looking at this other guy. I feel like we should name him something. But I'm looking at him, and he is just like, he's sitting there and he's kind of stroking himself, and he's watching this, and he is just going on like, God, you are so fucking hot, and you suck such good dick. I mean, just, he clearly was enjoying the show. And so then I kind of smiled at him and I said, well, I'm going to suck your dick next. And I think he got pretty excited about that. And so we just kind of went back and forth with that. And it was fun. And I tell you, he had a nice dick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. It was nice. And I think he definitely enjoyed, I think, so at this point, the little 90 comes off, and I'm naked. Obviously I have my little black panties on. And so I kind of go over to him, and Mr. Snow really loves coming behind me, knowing that there's a dick in my mouth. And so I start going down on him and sucking and enjoying his cock. And Mr. Snow automatically just comes over to behind me and slips those panties off. And yeah, so that was you're just sitting there with this big smile on your face, like it's just like
you could tell the rest of this story. I'm happy to sit here and listen to it.
So I can't explain it, but sometimes these things just organically happen. I mean, organically, obviously, like he showed up and we kind of but what I find to be kind of interesting about it, looking back on it, is there was no awkwardness.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I was not uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's crazy to think that, because like when I think about it in a very non-sexual, like when I'm not in that place, I'm like, I would never just randomly fuck some guy I don't know. And I totally just did that. And it was awesome. But like, it was, I think, part of this is where I am in my life. It's my age and my experience, but like, I am not self-conscious about my body.
Right.
I mean, I definitely have.
And we have our lifestyle experiences to thank for that.
100%. And I mean, I am not a tiny person. I have a lot of curves. I feel like I have a lot of fat and rolls and cellulite and all of the things that I find to be very unattractive. And I think when I'm standing there and I have these two men telling me how incredible I look and how hot I am, and they literally just cannot keep their hands off of all of my body, it's incredibly empowering. And just reassuring. And I think this is the reason why I'm a megalomaniac because
Well-
it's so hot. And but I mean, it's more than just sexually hot, right? It's definitely that, but if you really stop and think about it, it really it's incredible.
Yeah. It's really affirming.
Affirming,
like,
yes.
That scene that you described in the beginning proceeded. First, I got behind you.
Yeah.
And then you slid up his body.
Yes.
And started kissing him.
Yes.
And I saw a perfect opportunity to move forward and just keep doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And you were on your hands and knees being fucked from behind.
Yeah.
While you made out with this guy.
Right.
Underneath you.
And he kept telling me how fucking hot I was and how he loved my tits and he loved my butt. I mean, like, talk about just, I mean, it does. It's so.
Well, and here's the thing, and we'll talk a little bit more about this part, but the thing that I liked about this whole deal with him being bi also.
Yeah.
I was not worried about touching him.
Oh, sure.
In other MFM threesomes we've had,
right,
I try to be careful not to come in contact with the other guy.
Well, because you don't know how they're going to react
any more than
and
I
you don't
have
want to
to
make people uncomfortable.
I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Sure.
I'm fine with it. It doesn't matter to me, but I don't want to make other people uncomfortable.
Right.
So with straight guys, I feel somewhat restricted on like where I can move into with you.
Right.
And
or
with
you can
him,
put your mouth.
or my hands. With him, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I felt perfectly comfortable to be wherever.
Right.
And that was so really, really nice because
freeing, I bet.
Absolutely. Because then
you're out of your head.
That, and I'm not like, oh, can't be there. Oh,
right.
Oh, don't want to touch him there. Oh, that's my balls on his leg. You know,
my balls on his leg.
Like that's the thing. Like you have to be kind of mindful of all that stuff. Whereas in this case, it was like just do whatever.
Yeah.
And frankly, that was the best part about the bi part, if you will, was just that I didn't have to worry about, is he uncomfortable with me being here or touching this or touching that or whatever.
You don't want it to distract from the main attraction?
I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. That's always my thing.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. I would love that I could kind of work up on you and not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then there were all the nice parts. Like it was fun to touch him while he was playing with you.
Right.
That was fun.
And I tell you, and so obviously this kind of went on and we, changed positions. And I mean, he really just fucked me so hard. It was so hot. I love being, this is a graphic episode, everybody.
It's a very graphic episode.
I love being railed.
Yeah.
I love being used.
Yeah.
I love being taken. And I literally just, there's this fantasy and it has come into reality a couple times in some of the situations that we've encountered and that we've done, but literally just being used. Like this guy goes at it. Okay, he's done. Then
like taking turns.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. There's nothing hotter than that. And he just, it was amazing. He really did a number on my pussy.
Yeah.
And the other part that I really like about it is I love, being just railed like that. But then I love when Mr. Snow gets in and you could tell he feels it and he feels this stretched, used pussy. And it's so hot knowing that he is enjoying it and I'm enjoying. It's just all the feels. It's so hot. I love it. It's so good.
It feels so good. And so it was really fun to, as we were playing, for me, because this is the first time we've done this, and it was really fun for me knowing I'm allowed to touch anything.
Right.
I don't have to hide from stuff. I don't have to not touch things. So like you can just your hands kind of go where they go.
And one of the other things that I didn't think that I would like, and I can't explain this, and this is kind of the first time I'm really kind of maybe thinking about this, but you being the center of attention. Like, you're all about me, and I mean, I'm all about me sometimes, but like, I mean, we've kind of got into this with this.
Everybody knows that.
Well, yeah, I know. Okay, fine. But like, we have this dynamic that I'm kind of the main attraction, right? Like, I'm the main
That's our dynamic.
focus, right? That's the dynamic that we have.
It's very much a mutual dynamic.
Yeah. And so when there was a period of time during this whole experience that you were kind of the center of attention, in that he was going down on you and I was like leaning over you, kissing you.
That was super hot.
And I cannot explain this to you. But I didn't feel that because we've done that before with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not as hot to me as this was.
Yeah.
And I can't explain that. And maybe it's like a subconscious, like, does she suck dick better than me? And I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter with the men. I don't really understand that. That's a weird thing. But that was amazing that you were, and part of it is, and maybe this is part of it, but there was not, I think you with two women, you have said that there's kind of a concern or worry about performance.
Yeah, and it's not.
And I don't know if it's like that with maybe another male, because that wasn't on the table today for that. But I mean, it's just different.
Well, there is a difference, and it's not like an ED thing. It's more like a women in my head, and I understand this is like just my perception of it, but men please the women, right? And if I have one woman, I want to please her.
Right.
If I have two women, I feel compelled to please both of them.
Right.
I'm not really, it's hard for me to get into the mindset of how them pleasing me.
Right.
And I don't really, not that I don't care, but like I'm focused on my pleasure and that's their job.
Right.
Like that's hard to get into my head. But when it's another guy,
right,
I have every confidence that guy is going to take care of himself.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not worried about him.
Right.
He will be fine. I promise.
Well, but I also think so. Like, the idea of a man coming is very different than a woman coming.
Yeah,
I think most men come the same way. That, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, and I think women are different.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot more nuance to it.
Right.
So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And there was this one part. This was pretty funny. So Mrs. Snow has never seen me give oral.
Oh, no, I have not.
And I thought this was particularly naughty. There was this part, it was like maybe, I don't know, halfway through or something. We'd all been going for quite a while. And I think he said something like, I'm really thirsty. And Mrs. Snow pops up. She's like, oh, I can go get some waters. And he's like, oh, that would be really great. And she starts to walk out of the room. And as she's walking out of the room, no, go ahead, you tell it.
No, go ahead. I started leaving because I was going to be hosty.
Right.
Hosty.
Right.
The hostess with the mostest.
So, I mean, I saw this as a perfect time to suck his dick.
Yeah.
So he's kind of laying back on the bed and I'm kind of getting started. Like, I really haven't done anything yet. And she is like walking out of the room.
I know.
And I could see her now like dragging her feet because like she knows this is about to happen as she is leaving.
And so I had to hurry up and go downstairs and go get water. And I'm like fumbling around and I'm like like a hot mess downstairs. I'm like, I'm never go upstairs.
Totally naked, by the way.
What's that?
Totally naked, by the way.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I had to like literally just stop and breathe for a second. But luckily I did get a chance to see that a little later.
So let me ask you this. I've experienced this, but you haven't yet.
Walking in on you sucking dick?
Well, yes. But what I was going to say was specifically the idea of being out of the room.
Yeah.
When you know play is going on.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
I wanted to get back.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't upset. Nothing came in my head like, oh, I would have been perfectly fine just standing there watching. It had nothing to do with me wanting to participate so much as I just wanted to watch.
Yeah.
And so it was more FOMO of the watch.
Yeah.
Than the participation.
When you came back, I don't think we were still doing that.
No.
But it happened later.
Yes.
And then you got to see it.
I did.
So
And
tell
I
me,
tell you, oh man,
what was that like for you?
So it's funny. We kind of all took turns being the center of attention.
Yeah.
And he was laying on the bed, and you were sucking him, and I did the same thing to him as I did to you. That I kind of leaned over him,
Right.
and like let him feel me and kiss me and all the things.
Yeah.
And I remember looking down and just seeing that, and I was like, God damn, my husband looks hot sucking dick. And I remember saying that to him, and he's like, well, he's really fucking good at it. I was like, I'll take your word for it. He's never sucked my dick, but
well, you know what? I'll tell you it's funny because that is, this goes back to like my self-consciousness about the whole thing, right? I don't know how my wife is going to feel about me after she sees this.
right. Oh yeah, sure.
I can't take it back,
Right.
you know?
Can't unring that
I mean,
bell.
what if she sees that and she's like, oh, I don't like that. Like,
Yeah.
that was, I mean, fortunately, I don't think that was the case.
No, not at all.
It seemed like she was pretty all right with it.
I was pretty okay with it. Pretty okay with it.
And I, you know, giving Mrs. Snow all the credit, like I should have known that it was fine.
Yeah.
But like,
you don't know until you do it, right?
But you don't know how it's going to feel until you do it. And you also like, again, like there are just some things like you can't unring the bell. Right. And when you are exposing yourself, like you're putting yourself out there that way, you just have to kind of hope it all goes okay. And that's where that trust piece comes in.
Well, it's trust, it's communication. I mean, let's say like we had that experience and I wasn't okay with it. I think you and I have enough respect for each other that we would take that for what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we would say, we did that. I didn't like it. And this is why. And we would just kind of move on from it.
Sure.
I don't see us being like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I felt that way before we started, then we shouldn't have done it.
Well, right. And like knowing going into it, that's what was going to happen.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it was pretty hot and I was pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm starting to, it's kind of funny. It's like a little bit of a like a role reversal. I'm starting to understand what you like about seeing me being sexual.
Yeah.
Seeing you sexual.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's different with you with another man than it is you with another woman.
Well, I think it's because it's out of the ordinary.
Right.
Like it's
definitely something that I can't do.
Well, that, and it's like a mind stretch, right? I mean, seeing me with another woman is like, you could imagine that right now and pretty much get it right as far as what that's going to look like.
Well, because I'm another woman, right? So like it's, yeah.
You've kind of seen that, but like seeing me with another guy though, that's something you've never been a part of.
Right.
With me or anybody else.
Right.
So that was a big first today.
It was. And it was okay. It was all right. And 5 stars, eat again. Right.
Right. A good Yelp review. Yeah. So like, and that was kind of the cool thing about it was the bisexual elements of this were probably 20% or less.
Yeah.
Of the overall experience, which for me is exactly where I want it. That is exactly where I want it.
Yeah.
I got to enjoy you. He got to enjoy you. I love that. He and I both loved that. And there was some extra to it.
Yeah.
One part that was very funny that I have to tell you about, which just makes me laugh. I don't know if I can describe this well on a podcast or not, but we're going to give it hell. So he had her bent over the bed.
Oh.
And my wife, if you are not familiar, this is our shameless plug, not sponsored in any way. There's a toy called a Shabiri.
Yeah.
That my wife is in love with.
It's a good little toy.
It is a vibrator. It's like this big black vibrator. It's battery powered and it's strong. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of our go-to, kind of our go-to toy for Mrs. Snow. So he got her over the bed.
Yeah.
And they're going at it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's go exploring. So I grabbed the Shabiri and
I thought, foolishly, I thought, oh, he's going to do that for my clit. And
that is
my
where
pleasure.
I started.
Yeah.
That is where I started.
That's not where you ended.
That's not where I ended. So, and because this is kind of a bi experience, I can do this.
Yeah.
I would never do this with a straight guy.
Never.
Because I would never be comfortable. I mean, unless I really knew the guy, like if he was fine with it, but like I would never do this with a straight guy. But I got down on my knee behind him.
Yeah.
So you're bent over the bed. He's going at it. I'm knelt down behind him, and I had a phenomenal view of you. I mean, it was just perfect. And so I kind of just, I'm like heading for it, and I'm completely planning to use it on you. Well, I don't know if I slipped or I don't know. I don't know how this happened, but it slid up a little. I think you had
to pass him to get to me, right?
No, you were a little lower. He was a little higher. Okay. So I don't know what happened, but I ended up kind of touching his balls with it. And it felt like I had electrocuted something, and he was just like, whoa. And
he was totally good with it.
And I was like, interesting. So
he got quite a show. He got quite a treat today, didn't he?
I had a full-on Tina Von Teese moment. So I'm like,
ooh, let's see where this goes.
Ooh, he likes that. So I kind of worked that around a little back. And I'll bet you I did that for 2.5, 3 seconds before it was boom.
Yeah. And he came.
Yeah. Hard. That man shook like he was being electrocuted. He shook. It was very hot.
Yeah.
It was really hot. I don't know if you could feel that or not.
Well, I mean, I felt some parts of it, but I heard him and he seemed to enjoy that.
Yes.
And I think you very much enjoyed doing that to him.
Oh, that was so much fun.
I feel like this is kind of one of those moments. I don't know if it would have mattered if I was in the room. That would have.
Oh, no. You were a critical part of why that was so much fun, because the thing about this bisexual thing is it's you get both.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, you get both, and that's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. And we did several different things. I got to fulfill 2 fantasies that I've had, threesome fantasies. One with you 69ing over at the top of me.
Yeah.
And him behind you.
Yeah, you got a nice view of that, didn't you?
That's how he finished the second time. So that was fun. And then the other one, and this is the part where Mrs. Snow's going to laugh at me. He was laying on his back. She was on top of him backwards,
right,
facing his feet.
Right.
And this is a pose that I have wanted Mrs. Snow to be in for a very long time. And I asked him, I said, and I felt kind of bad about this because we really hadn't talked about it ahead of time.
And you may want to follow that up with that conversation, but yeah.
But I was like, hey, listen, I can't see your face or anything. All I can see are your feet. Would it be okay if I made a video of this, just of this?
Yeah.
Your face won't be in it, and you're welcome to see it afterwards. And he's like, yeah, that's totally fine. So I did. I thought. And I'm so happy.
Oh my God. So I'm sitting there and I'm obviously facing him.
Yeah.
While he's watching me.
Yeah.
And I can literally hear him mouth, this is so fucking hot.
Yeah.
You were like, this is amazing. And you were so excited. And I was joking with you at the time. I said, you were totally going to use this to jerk off later. And he goes, 100% I'm going to.
Oh, absolutely.
And this guy behind us is just laughing because he thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of posing.
Oh, she's putting on a show.
Because he's videoing it, right? So I want it to be worth your while when you're on the road.
And it was
and I want you to think about it.
It was so
and
good.
So I was all excited. He was so excited. And then okay, all right, we're done with that. Then we finished and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then when we're all done, we're putting clothes on, we're talking, and he's checking this video, and he found out he didn't hit record.
Oh, it hurts my heart. God. It hurts my heart.
It's funny because obviously we're all clothed, and Mr. Snow was like, put your clothes off. Take them off right now.
Yeah, take your pants off. We got to do this again. Take 2 right now.
Right now.
Damn it. Oh, it was so good too. And I was mouthing at her because I don't know if you've ever recorded porn for yourself.
Yeah, but because we have such a big
Like
we have such a long.
No,
let me give me some audio clues.
I mean, surely people who are listening to this have made porn of themselves.
I mean, okay.
But here's the thing, and guys will understand this. Girls won't get it. I don't, and I've made this mistake when recording things before. Later, when it's just me, I do not want to hear myself talk.
Yeah.
I only want like you and your voice and your everything. So like I am like mouthing things to you because I don't in the video, like I do not want to hear myself. And oh God, I worked so hard at it. And it was everything I wanted it to be.
Everything I wanted it to be.
Except recorded.
Yeah. Well, I guess that means we'll just have to fuck him again.
I know. Dadgummit.
That's a shame.
I know. But it was very good. And I really liked that. It was liberating. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was much more free than some other situations. And don't get me wrong, for anybody who might be listening that we've had a threesome with, I have no problems with anything that we have done. I loved the other events that we've had too.
Yeah.
But this was a lot of fun.
It's just a different experience.
Like you can kind of go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
So yeah, that was our random Monday afternoon.
Our random Monday hookup.
I mean, I feel like when we say out loud, hey, we went on an app and 45 minutes later, there was a dick in my pussy. That wasn't my husband's.
It's fucking crazy.
I mean, it is crazy.
It's fucking crazy.
And it went really well. And maybe we got a play partner out of it. I mean, he seemed to be pretty up for it.
I think he'd do it again.
Yeah, I think he would too.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And that is definitely not something we are going to make a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
But we have been talking about trying to find a regular single male.
Yeah.
And maybe we found one.
Maybe. And I think it would be awesome that it was a regular male that kind of both of us could have fun with.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
I mean, that's not a bad thing.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. So let me ask you this. So you've never experienced a male bi situation before.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways, like, were there any surprises? Did anything about it like really surprise you?
Surprise me? No. I mean, surprise me in the sense that I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Not that I didn't think that I would like it, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't, I mean, I kind of thought that it would be, oh, okay, that's cool. But I was like, oh, that's really fucking hot. Do you know what I mean? Like it was a little different. It's just, again, like seeing you sexual like that. And there's a vulnerability to watching you suck a dick.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's really hot. Like I don't think I've really ever seen you be that vulnerable in that sense.
Right. Well, it's the vulnerability between like the giving and the receiving.
Yeah.
Receiving is not that vulnerable.
Right.
Giving is.
Right. And watching you do that was, I mean, that was pretty okay. I'd do that again.
Yeah. Well, I think we will.
Yeah. Did you like showing off for me? Like, was there any part of you? Because I feel like a lot of what I do, like when I suck another guy off in front of you.
Yeah.
I purposely make it very performative.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, and I don't know how performative it is because I think I'm a pretty expressive person, so I don't think it's like fake by any means.
No.
But there's a lot more looking over at you and kind of just giving you that look. I don't know if that was something that you thought about while you were doing that.
You know, I wasn't thinking so much about performing. Like for me, I guess it wasn't that I really didn't have that performative concept in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, like I did wonder, like what are like I did wonder, like what is she thinking right now?
Yeah,
like that was kind of going through my mind. Like what is she thinking right now?
Yeah.
And
well, then you hear me tell him.
Yeah.
And then you hear me tell him.
I heard that.
Oh, my husband's really hot sucking dick.
You know, and it kind of makes me want to be more open to doing more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I will say, like, I think self-consciousness kind of held me back just a little bit.
Well, sure.
Not a lot, but a little bit. But I would definitely do that again.
Yeah. That was fun.
It was fun.
And so this is one of those experiences that worked out really well for all involved. And again, we've been fortunate, and I think some of it, I think maybe luck, but I think some of it is, like you had said, just some of the conversations that you have in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like in vetting people or screening people. Like, I think sometimes you can pick up on things even in text that are kind of, red flags or,
well,
deal
you have
breakers.
to be, I think you have to be really willing, if you see red flags, to punt.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
yeah.
you can't lose yourself in the wanting this to happen.
Right, which is why I say you have to make some of these decisions with your pants on.
Yeah, you do. You do. But yeah, no, we definitely lucked out.
Yeah.
I mean, fully admit, risky thing to do.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy thing to do.
Right.
Fully accept
Which
that.
is why I think we wanted to record right after, because I think we really wanted to just
get it out,
but also like be vulnerable about it. Like it was, this is crazy.
This is crazy. This
worked out. And, it's kind of one of those, like, you had a really amazing experience and it worked out well, but I don't really want to tempt fate again to some degree.
No,
what I mean?
no, no. The odds of this working out really, really good multiple times is not very good.
Right.
So that's our we had a really fun story, but that's our little warning at the end. Like, your mileage may vary.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we may have a regular bi play partner for both of us. And I think that's okay. I think that sounds really good.
I think that's pretty okay. One thing that I'm happy about is I have never openly talked about my bi side on the podcast. I think I have alluded to it in the past.
Yeah.
I think I kind of have done that, but I've never really come right out and said it.
Yeah.
And it is something that has been on my mind for, I mean, honestly, kind of since we started this.
Well, I mean, we're talking a lot about sexuality, right? We're talking about sexuality. We're talking about engaging in sexual acts. Like, that's part of your sexuality. That's part of who you are. That's part of what you enjoy. And I mean, so.
Well, and we talk a lot about being authentic, right?
Absolutely.
And part of my authentic self is that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of glad that that's sort of out there now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really eye-opening experience. One of the things that we talked about, we kind of started this conversation, but I have shared that my first instinct in getting into the lifestyle and playing with people is I don't want to engage and I don't want to have this like relationship with people. Like, I just want it to be about sex to some degree. Not that I don't want to get to know you as a human, but I don't want to date you. You know what I mean? I don't want to like engage in this like drawn out, intimate relationship kind of process. And so one of the things that, Mr. Snow and I have been talking about kind of throughout the last couple weeks, something about this it was just so easy.
Yeah.
It was so easy. And again, I don't know if that's typical, but it was very easy. Like, this guy came over, he was into it, I was into it, and we just fucked. And it was easy, and there was no strings attached, there was no emotional involvement. It was just pure sexually. Like, it was just, that's all it was.
Right.
And so there's something about that like, I like that. I like somewhat of the anonymity of it. Like, I don't know this guy. I mean, I trust him enough that like, that he said what he said, that he was truthful. And I mean, I don't think he's like a creep or anything, but like, there was something about it. Like, I was like, this is kind of what I initially wanted out of the lifestyle. Like, I wanted just this, like, kind of.
Right. So what we're trying to find balance in, and I think what you're getting at is, we just had an experience before this,
right,
with a man that I had been talking to through the SLS route,
right,
and we ended up going out on a date with this person,
right,
and we had a perfectly good time.
Yeah, absolutely,
and it was fun. But at the end of the day, it just didn't really kind of play out. It was, our expectations were different. What we wanted was different.
Yeah.
And we still had a good time, but that is emblematic of the fact that the meetup concept.
Mhm.
The idea that you're going to talk to someone online,
Right.
get to know them, share some pictures, whatever. And then 2 weeks from now,
Right.
or a month from now,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
we're going to get a babysitter and we're going to go on a date with this person and try to
Right.
decide whether we like them or not.
Right.
When the reality is what we're looking for is sex.
Right.
And-
And this very much filled that bucket today. Like,
Right.
it
Well,
just,
and the point here is that the meetup idea is valid. It's good, but it is a ton more work.
well, and it's so much harder for us to do just with our life.
Right. And the whole meetup thing, like in the case of this last guy, it didn't really even amount to anything.
No.
So, you kind of go, and I feel badly saying it this way, but like you put in all this work
Yeah.
for nothing to happen.
Right.
And that's not anyone's fault. We're not criticizing him. I mean, anything like that. But it just is what it is.
Right.
And in this case, it was literally just a hookup. Now, where I think that balance comes in, though, is we have made so many friendships
Yeah.
through the lifestyle. And I think, and we do like those.
Absolutely.
We
I
love
value
those friendships
Yeah.
and we love those relationships we have with people. But it's kind of like two separate tracks,
Yeah.
right? There's the lifestyle track where we're just trying to fuck. And then there's the lifestyle track where we're trying to make relationships and have fun with like-minded people.
Right.
And where I think for us, the big disconnect lies is that we do not have the ability to regularly attend a club.
Right.
Because I think if we could do that, then it would be the best of both worlds. I think we'd
I
have the
agree.
opportunity to have those relationships and those friendships with people.
And the availability is there,
And the
right?
availability
You're
is there.
there. You're physically at a place where everyone can do all the things that they want, as
Right.
opposed to, okay, well, we have to be home by 10. And so how does 7 weeks from next Thursday look? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's just very different.
Right. Right.
So that's what you mean when it's a lot of work.
And not only that, but like if there's somebody there that you don't connect with,
Right.
you can go to the bar and you might find somebody that you do connect
Right.
with.
And you can still, but you can, because you're all like-minded people, you can just shoot the shit with them or talk to them about whatever, or it's just, there's the pressure is it's not there.
Right. It's significantly more convenient, I think,
Yes.
to have both play and relationships in a club setting
Correct.
than it is without that.
Right.
And a lot of the people in our Discord server echo those concerns and have said that they are almost exclusively now focused on going to clubs
Mm-hmm.
for this very reason.
Right.
Unfortunately, that isn't really in the cards for us right now.
Yeah. So we just do random hookups.
Well, we did one.
Guess I checked that off my bingo card today.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about you only go around once,
Right.
right? And we talk about, I mean, and even within the lifestyle, but I think in general, but making the most of your life and making the most of your sexual desires. And I mean, like, I feel like we're doing that. We're having so much fun. We are enjoying each other. We are enjoying each other with other people. And again, it goes to this is not filling a void for us. This is all extra.
Right.
This is all so much more. And it's so fun.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. I mean,
and without the lifestyle, without all of this, this is going to sound really mean, but like we would just be fucking each other.
yeah, that is mean. That's okay. That's all right. I would just be fucking this bitch all goddamn night.
That sounds so bad.
I mean, we would just be fucking each other. And that's good. So we talk about merch. I think that's going to go on a cup. We would just be fucking each other. Fucking each other.
That's a good one. Okay.
We got to make a list.
But I feel like I have to qualify that because I'm gonna get crucified in the comments.
That's hilarious.
But not that I would mind only having sex with my wife for the rest of my life. I was
even our
perfectly
sex is
content
better.
with that. Our sex is better.
Our sex is so much better.
And I want you to have really good sex in your life.
Yeah. And I am learning that I also want you to have really good sex in your life. Not that I didn't like that before, but I think seeing you in that light was very eye-opening for me today. And it was I am starting to really relate to that. I want you to have good sexual experiences. Not that I didn't think that before, but it's just very different now.
Yeah. Well, you kind of learn to appreciate each other more in different ways.
Right. And it is so hot when you and I just have sex, referring back to the hot things that we've done.
I mean,
all I have to say is, do you remember that pose where I was up on and I was on his dick backwards and I'm like posing for you and you could like literally see my body and the dick in me, like, and then he's just gonna come.
Yeah.
Like that's all it takes.
Yes, absolutely. It's the reclaiming. We had sex twice right after this was over.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and it was good, wasn't it?
Oh
It's
my
fun.
gosh.
So
I almost blacked out on the last one.
Yeah, you saw Jesus.
Yeah. So he was behind the couch the whole time.
He's always behind the couch.
So anyway, yeah, that was our first bisexual MFM
random hookup. Yeah. Which I think, may happen again.
We'll see. Yeah.
So with that note, I think we're all spent. I don't think there's much left down there. What do you think?
Oh no. I'm good for at least 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, I love you, Mr. Snow.
I love you too, baby. Until next time.
Bye, guys. We want to hear from you. Email us at snowmilf@yahoo.com. That's SNOMILF@yahoo.com. You can also join us on our Discord and have some fun interactive conversations with us. The link is in the show notes. Talk to you soon.